Heal, Flame here, and welcome to the final FlameHisWorld video of 2019, and I guess depending on how you see it, possibly the final video of the decade. Some people say it starts in 2021, I don't know, that's a discussion for someone who is not me. But as we are reaching the end of the year now, this is about the time where I sort of look back over the last year, what I've got done on the channel, what I've got done elsewhere, and essentially kind of evaluate myself, which I know, very self-indulgent, but I've done this every year since 2014 and I ain't breaking the chain now. So, to start with, what I've done on FlameHisWorld this year, the big one is Pokemon Y. At least finishing off Pokemon Y. This playthrough started in 2018 and it's had a lot of delays. I will say that definitely is the case. There's been quite a few gaps in this playthrough schedule where we wouldn't do any for a while, then we'd have a load of videos at once, and sometimes scheduling's like that. Sometimes I get busy with other stuff, sometimes Chris and Stephen get busy with other stuff. But the playthrough, as of a couple of days ago, is now finally complete. We did the whole main game, we showed off quite a lot there, and we also showed off a fair bit of post-game, at least the post-game that Pokemon Y has to offer. This playthrough, I'm quite mixed on. I'll say overall I like how the playthrough came out, and I'm very happy that we managed to get Pokemon Y on the channel, because, like I said in the playthrough, it's my favourite Pokemon generation, Gen 6. And it's one that I did actually have to go out of my way to buy extra equipment to record, given it's a 3DS game. And, you know, like, that worked out quite expensive, but I've made good use of the 3DS since then as well. So it's not that big of a deal. But I do feel like the commentary had some weak spots. I feel like that's particularly the sections where we would get a bit too tangential with the current happenings with the Pokemon series. Those sections, sometimes are a blessing, sometimes they're a curse. And it's a blessing in the fact that it's something to talk about that a lot of people at the time they were coming out and the people who were watching the videos were probably interested in, you know, like it's talk of, to start with, Let's Go, and then Pokemon Sword and Shield. It was topical. But the thing that I'm a bit cautious of with that is that doesn't tend to age as well. Like, there are a few speculative parts where it's me going like, yeah, Let's Go looks kind of terrible. And then Let's Go came out and I was like, okay, Let's Go, it was actually kind of all right. And then, like, Sword and Shield was a sort of similar case. I know Stephen absolutely loves that. It's his favourite game of the year. But no, like, I feel like some of the Sword and Shield talk in particular could have been a bit more constructive than it was. And you might have noticed in the post-game, even though the games had come out by the time we recorded that, we kind of toned it down a little bit. That was my suggestion. Because that's the thing with criticising games that have come out. Like, it was on topic because it's a Pokemon game, and so if you're interested in a Pokemon video, then this will be relevant commentary. But the thing is, there's a fine line between being critical and just bitching. And the thing with bitching is that it's so easy to indulge in that sometimes you don't notice you're doing it at the time. And so I don't have any regrets about any of the opinions I've shared on Sword and Shield. That stuff I agree with, you know, the stuff that I said, the stuff that Stephen said. So, like, I stand by that, but I feel like I could have presented it in a bit less of a whiny, this fucking sucks, I'm mad at this kind of tone. That's just one of the things that I feel like we need to work on going forward, because it's not wrong to have a negative opinion, even a strong negative opinion, but presenting it in a way that doesn't become a chore to listen to, I feel, is quite important. Thankfully, that was only a couple of portions of the Pokemon Y playthrough. There were only a couple of recording sessions where I think that got excessive. For the most part, I feel like we managed to keep it mediated. So, on the whole, like I said, Pokemon Y, I think, was a fun playthrough to record. I'm really happy we got it done. And so that was like the big one of the year, or the 2 years, wrapped up at last. And I think it was a success on the whole. Now, in terms of my solo commentaries, Shovel Knight, Shovel of Hope. This was actually the first LP that I recorded with this new microphone that I'm using now. I got a new setup for my solo commentaries this year, and honestly, I think it sounds a lot better. For the longest time, I was just using USB microphones, and the problem with them is that sometimes the gain's a little bit fucked. I don't really have the same quality control that I do with this new setup, that I've got a broadcast headset going into a preamp that goes into my PC. The playthrough sounded a lot better. As for the quality of the commentary, I tried something new with this one, in the fact that I didn't record the whole game before I started with this. I actually just recorded a couple of levels, then I'd record the commentary with my immediate impressions, and then I'd record the next levels and do the same thing. And ultimately, it was kind of me discovering the game as I went along. It's kind of my little compromise, because I don't really like doing blind live Let's Plays, because I find a lot of the time that trying to do live commentary of a game that I'm not familiar with would result in worse quality gameplay, so I'd be screwing up more. And also the commentary would sort of be lacking because I'm trying to concentrate on the game. I feel like that wouldn't be a fair representation of my impressions of the game as I would normally play it. So what I would do is I would do a practice run of a couple of levels, then do recorded runs of those levels where I would get the level down without dying, and then I would talk over that footage. And so I feel like on the whole, that playthrough came out okay. There was maybe a couple of sections that were a little bit dry, that maybe I could have, done some more research beforehand, found some new things to talk about, but that's ultimately minor stuff, and I have been trying to be a bit more casual with my approach to commentary this year, so it kind of worked out pretty well in my eyes. I will be doing the next Shovel Knight campaign, Plague of Shadows, at some point in 2020, so if you enjoyed Shovel, I hope you'll stick around for that one. Up next, we had Team Sonic Racing. This was a GP showcase, and this game I did play live, because in a similar manner to the Mario Kart playthroughs that I've done live, I kind of feel like when it's a mascot racing game, you can afford to be a little bit more chaotic. That's part of how the game's designed. And I also had quite a fair bit of practice with Team Sonic Racing before recording, so it's not like I was thrown in at the deep end or anything. That I actually think is one of the more fun solo commentaries I've done, and being that it is a chaotic racing game, I think that helped. And I do want to experiment a bit more with live stuff going into next year, so it won't necessarily be blind stuff for the reasons that I just mentioned, but I feel like if I try a bit more live stuff, then hopefully I can get that mix of playing the game that I like and also having that more lively approach to commentary that you get with a live LP compared to a post-commentary LP. That's not to say that the post-commentary ones will stop entirely, because I do legitimately enjoy that more focused approach to certain games. But for some stuff, I feel like I can afford to mix it up a little bit. I feel like that will be my direction going forward, a bit of both. We'll see. I will have to experiment a little bit, because with FlameHisWorld, it's kind of obvious that I play this stuff by ear, let's be honest here. And the other playthrough that I've been working on for FlameHisWorld this year is still ongoing, and this is Professor Layton and the Curious Village. So far, I've recorded the first half, and my next priority for FlameHisWorld is the second half of this, now that Pokemon Y's wrapped up, and I can sort of hone in my focus on this one thing. I will say, this run, I hope people have been enjoying the videos as they've been coming out. These take a lot more work to put together than any of the other LPs that I've done in recent memory. And the reason for that is just the structure of the game. I don't really like going off topic for this sort of thing when there's a puzzle on screen. When the puzzle's there, I kind of want to draw my attention back to how the puzzle works and to talk about it, and if it reminds me of anything else that I know. And so I can kind of keep those particular sections relevant. And what that means is that for the other sections where there's the story going on and I'm talking about anything else that might be relevant, like my opinions on that particular story beat, or stuff like the music or presentation or any other bits of trivia that I have about the game that I want to discuss, it kind of means that I'm on a timer there. I've got to be economic with my words so that I'm not still rambling about that particular thing halfway through the next puzzle. So it does take a lot more planning, and that's why the videos do take a long time to come out, because I want to make sure that I'm properly in the mindset to work on those videos. I don't really want to half-ass them. I can sort of get away with more casual commentary for stuff like Shovel Knight or any other platformers or racing games I can do, but when it's something that's quite tightly structured like that, I don't really want to slack on my presentation there. So I hope that the actual videos are enjoyable. It's a very new thing to me. I haven't covered any games like this before, but it's a game that I played and I really enjoyed, and I really wanted to show off to the best of my ability. So that's why I went ahead and recorded it, and that's why I want to make this commentary as good as I possibly can. So the second half of the playthrough will be coming out in the first quarter of 2020. I will do my best to make it the best I possibly can, and I hope you enjoy the second half of it. And that's it for FlameHisWorld commentaries in 2019. On the whole, this has been a much more basic year in terms of output. I've only mentioned 4 runs there, when in other years like 2017 I think I had 12. So it's kind of a dip down in terms of quantity. I hope the quality's up to scratch, but I will say that FlameHisWorld, for me personally, is not my biggest priority. I've kind of had to make serious adult decisions when it comes to delegating my time to things, and sometimes that means that when it's my other channel, FC Playthroughs, that is essentially my job now, I kind of have to prioritize that one, because as much as I love doing these kind of shooting the shit over games, kind of casual commentaries and whatnot, that isn't covering my costs at all. I do kind of need to be an adult sometimes, which I'm a man child. I'm talking about video games on YouTube. I'm not very good at adapting to that, but I do have to kind of accept that I'm not going to be able to put out the same quantity that I used to. I just hope that the quality kind of justifies that. And again, that's something that I'll continue to work on into the new year. And if you've been watching these ongoing runs, I do appreciate your patience, because I know sometimes you do have to wait a little bit longer than what's comfortable to wait, especially with stuff like Layton. So I just hope that the videos themselves are enjoyable enough to justify the wait. Now, in terms of non-FlameHisWorld related projects, I'm going to just go through these pretty quickly. I don't want to spend too much time here, but we had the HellfireComms Retrothon. This was another charity event that I took part in, which I ran 9 games. I just had to count that out. 9 or 10, depending on how you count things. It's a little bit weird, but I have runs up on the channel of Namco Museum Volume 1. This was an arcade showcase showing off a handful of different arcade games. We did a showcase of that game's museum mode as well, which was quite ill thought out. I will say we were just reading shit off for a little while, but Neo and I had fun with that one, so it justified itself in that respect. Pokemon Snap, that was a fun stream. We had Contra and Probotector, which they're the same game. One's the US version and one's the censored PAL version. The Curse of Monkey Island, that's another game that I haven't really covered anything of the genre before. It's a point-and-click game. It's kind of fun. I did screw myself over by printing off the wrong guide ahead of time, so I was just reading through my guide for the Mega Monkey version and then having to get Tom to relay the what I'm actually meant to do on the difficulty that I was playing. That was kind of interesting. GGLS, not the most interesting run, I will say. I did struggle for the first half because I just screwed up in the first level and that threw me off. But I feel like by the time I got to the second half of the playthrough, it picked up a little bit. So it's a more obscure game that I'm happy I managed to get into the set list there. I don't know whether I convinced anyone to play it, but it was a shmup that I don't see much coverage of on YouTube. So I wanted to get that in. It's a retro game. It's fitting for the event. It did the job. It's Tetris for the Game Boy. This one was a bit of a meme pick on my end, I will say. I wanted to get this in because Tetris is one of my favourite retro games. The Game Boy version is wonderful. I have spent many, many hours playing that. And we did a bit of a showcase, cycling through the different modes and the different music tracks and whatnot. We had Sonic Drift and Sonic Drift 2 that we did back to back. This I, again, was intended to be a meme pick, and it was over the course of those streams that I realised I actually really like Sonic Drift as games. So, like, I did enjoy that playthrough. Well, those playthroughs, I guess. We did them back to back in one video, so it's one or two, take your pick. And then Mario Kart 64, I'll say, was probably the weakest of my runs, just because like I was completely thrown off. I weren't playing that well, and I had a few audio quirks as well, which threw me off. We had just come off the back of Sonic Drift and Sonic Drift 2, and then into Mario Kart 64, and I don't think the Mario Kart 64 run did that well. But ultimately, what was most important about the Retrothon, the reason why I'm really happy we got it done, regardless of my fuck ups, is that we managed to beat our target for the money we raised. We raised over $2,000 for the charity Child's Play. And Child's Play, the same charity we supported with the Segathon last year, they provide children in hospital with toys and games. And the fact that we were able to make that much money, even though it was a shorter event than usual, like I'm really happy about that. So I'm really happy with how the Retrothon went down. And next year, we've still got some details to figure out, but we will be doing another charity event, the Super Nintendo-thon. So we'll be streaming a handful of Nintendo games again for the charity Child's Play. So I hope you guys look forward to that. The other thing that I want to mention here, again, just briefly, are the Hellfire Commentaries playthroughs that I've either been in or recorded for the channel. So there was the second half of Sonic Chronicles The Dark Brotherhood. Pretty decent LP, a couple of dry sections, but ain't gonna be perfect. It is Sonic Chronicles at the end of the day. It is a quite slow-paced RPG, so I feel like with the material we had, we did our best. Sonic on the Black Knight, it's an okay playthrough. Not our best Sonic LP, I don't think, but it was pretty fun. We were originally going to cover the extras as well, like the optional missions. Later down the line, we kind of decided against that because a lot of the videos in that segment would have been just stuff happening while we were bullshitting, and we didn't really feel like doing that. But the main game playthrough, I feel like that holds up. Super Mario Maker 2, that was a live one with Tom playing while I was being a little shit to him in the call. that was pretty cool. Like Super Mario Maker 2 has a pretty fun story mode, and that was the bulk of what we showed off there, alongside some fan submitted courses that Tom had a shot at after the fact. Like I'm quite happy with how that came down. We did our second run of Detroit Become Human, where we went out of our way to pick different options to what we did in our first run. With this particular run, we actually killed off Kara very early, and as morbid as it sounds, that made the run a lot more fun this time around, because her sections are the slow sections, whereas in this run we just did all the action stuff, and I feel like the playthrough and the commentary benefited from that, so I consider it kind of fucked up if you want, but I feel like it made for a better LP, all things considered. The Dark Pictures anthology Man and Medan, which is the new horror game by the Until Dawn developers, Supermassive Games. That one we did both the theatrical cut, which is the standard out-of-the-box game, and we also did the pre-order bonus curator's cut. So we showed off both the runs. I feel like some sections were maybe a little bit slow, but that's the nature of the beast when you're doing a story-driven game. You're not going to be talking the whole way through. Sometimes you do have to just let the game speak for itself and then interject your own opinions and interpretations of what's going on. So it's probably not the most hype LP we've ever done, but, I enjoyed showing that game off, and depending on how the next game, Little Hope, plays out, I would like to kind of cover that too, assuming that it holds up, obviously. I'm talking about a game that isn't out yet, so I don't know how we'll feel about it at the time. But yeah, Man and Medan was okay as a playthrough. And the last one was Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Winter Games for the DS. This was arguably my favourite of the LPs we've done on HFC this year. It might have felt like a bit of a maverick pick to just go with the DS version of a spin-off game, but The Olympic Winter Games DS game does actually have a really neat story mode, and if you haven't seen it, I would recommend checking out that playthrough because the character interactions and the DS adaptations of the sports are actually a lot of fun. So, that was enjoyable to record. I handled the footage for that one. It was enjoyable to talk over, and it was just like a nice casual run to cap off the year with. So, yeah, that was a fun LP. I'm actually quite happy with the output on the whole this year. There's, like I said with the FlameHisWorld section, I feel like that's the section that does get sort of put as a secondary thing for me, FlameHisWorld LPs, because I just don't have the time to dedicate to them. But the ones that are there, I'm happy with. The Retrothon was fun, and the HFC playthrough's been fun, so I'm very content. Usually these retrospectives have a heavier, didn't like this much, or could have done that better. But maybe it's me meds, maybe it's the fact that I've been drinking tea while recording this, but I'm quite happy. And I'm looking forward to the new year and seeing what I can do then. So, looking forward to seeing what I can do then. To kind of wrap things up, because I am terrible at wrapping up these videos. I'm terrible at wrapping up videos in general, but especially this type of thing. I'll say thank you very much to everyone who's stopped by and checked out anything that I've worked on this year, whether that be any of the commentaries, whether that be FC playthroughs. I genuinely do appreciate it. This is a long-term hobby of mine now. I've been making these videos since 2012. So, this is basically what my life is now. So I do genuinely appreciate that people give me the time of day with that. I know this is a very small channel, but the fact that anyone pops by, I get likes on the videos, I get the odd comment, I do genuinely appreciate that. So thank you very much. And same with everyone who's seen the other stuff that I've done, like FC playthroughs, whatnot. Also want to thank Stephen and Chris for continuing to be very supportive with Pokemon Y. I did ask quite a lot of them for such a long playthrough compared to what we're usually doing, especially given some of those parts were quite long in themselves. But they showed the fuck up and they brought their A game with commentary, and I do really appreciate that. I'm so glad I get to work with these guys because, sometimes when I've been a bit demotivated, just inviting them over and just shooting shit about Pokemon for a while, it's the pick-me-up I need. I'm like, that was a fun one with those guys, and they continue to be some of the best friends I could ask for. The same can be said for Tom and Richie from HellfireComms, because we've done some runs that I'm really happy with. Those guys are really good friends of mine, and they're always fun to work with. And I feel blessed to be surrounded by people who are as passionate about this stuff as I am. Genuinely. It really does feel great that my hobby is something that I can indulge so much time into. But yeah, on attempt 2 at signing off, I will say thank you, everyone, and I hope you'll have a fantastic 2020. I've been the Flameclaw, this has been FlameHisWorld, and I'll see you next year for some more playthroughs. Bye bye for now.